Hello and welcome back to the bench. Today we have another Macintosh SE 30, and wouldn't you know, it doesn't boot, it shows funny things on the screen, and it needs to be repaired. So I will fast forward through the whole process of recapping it and cleaning up the board, because you've probably seen me do this a few times before. But if you are interested in something like that, definitely subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other videos for that kind of content. But today we're going to dig deep into the logic board repair and figure out exactly what's going on. So here's our board, freshly cleaned. I let it sit overnight to dry. We've gotten rid of all the flux and gunk from redoing the caps on here. And let's just plug it in and show you what it's doing. So we've just got it rigged up here, and we'll give it a power on. And there you go. That's our beautiful screen that we're getting. And recapping it didn't make a difference because there is most likely a bad trace from leaking capacitors. The next step would be to probe all of the points from the ROM sim here to the CPU. And then the next step would be the glue chip to the CPU. And the next step from that would be from here to all the RAMs sims. It could be something around this cap, and most likely this one. But before we do any probing, let's try and save ourselves some time if we can. And let's put it under the microscope and see if we can just catch anything. Now that it's like beautifully cleaned and everything's gone from it, we'll have a better idea. So this is the axial C11. I think it's most common for the ones around the axials to have problem. As you can see, we've got a lot of dark looking vias, which is not a good thing. Those should all be shiny bright solder looking like this one. So all of those vias are potentials to be problems. But I just want to see if there's any obvious traces that are broken. What's going on here? This is just some stuff that did not get cleaned up. Even here looks really bad. But it could just be still gunky. Let me know if I miss anything. Here's the other axial, which looks, everything looks fairly good for the most part. See a bit of solder on that trace. Nothing seems to be bridging or anything. This is all just flux. Leftover flux, I guess, as long as clean as I thought it was. Alright. so unfortunately, there's nothing obvious. Alright, so what we're going to do is use this person's diagram here. Somebody very generously went and labeled all these pins, and then we're using the Motorola 68030 cut sheet here, which has a lovely view of the pinout of the CPU. So we can compare the two just by laying it like this. And I can go from the CPU. Here's pin 1. And here's my ROM sim slot. At first, we're going to make sure everything's connected there that needs to be connected. I probably won't show this entire process on here. But let's start with VCC, which should be this one here. And this one here. Oh. Could I already have a problem, or am I just using the wrong pin? There's so many. There we go. There's a VCC there. Was I just on the wrong one? Yeah, it was. Alright, so I'm not going to show you all of these unless I actually have an issue. We'll come back to it. Okay, so everything in here is connected to the CPU where it needs to be, and then the only ones that weren't were pins 11 and 12 go to the glue chip here. That's the ROM signal, so that's good. So now I'm going to move on and go from the glue chip to wherever the glue chip goes to, which is going to be a bit tedious. That's this one here. So we've got a lot of pins to go. So I'm going to start with the ones that go to these chips. Anything that's just kind of easy. All these ones that are A lines and stuff, those go to the CPU, which it's going to be a bit tricky. What I'm going to do for that is cheat a little bit. And I'm going to test those data lines from the CPU to the PDS slot connector, because the PDS slot here is directly connected to the CPU. And if I don't find anything and we're still having troubles, then I'll verify that the connections between the CPU and the PDS are still good. They're so close, so there's probably not a problem with that. But it's just because the CPU isn't removable, there's no socket, I have to put a probe underneath, which is very difficult, and then flip it over and probe whatever I'm doing here, right? So this way I can just probe the pins easily like this and find what I'm looking for and actually look at the schematic. The one I'm on is probably not one of them, but you know what I mean. I can probe, and bang, bang for those ones. Alright, I have tested this glue chip, all the data buses for the CPU and ROM, and then I've pretty much gone around and tested all the way from pin 1 all the way around to here so far, and I found that pin 33 here is supposed to connect to pin 6 of this chip UE7, and it is not. So just for fun, let's do a quick little Bodge connection on there and see if that makes any change for us. Even if it does correct things, I still want to keep going because there could be more. But I'm glad to finally see something that didn't connect, and hopefully that's what solves our problem. Alright, so we'll just, for now, this is really kind of half-assed, but we'll do that. This is just temporary, just to get us going here. It's tricky getting this magnet wire going because you have to melt the coating off of it too to get it to conduct properly. You don't want to bridge those. And I'll leave this long just so I can reuse this eventually. This is quite the bodge. This is the definition of a bodge job. So let's see if it connects now. It does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what I want. Alright, we've got some a ROM chip and some RAM in there. Give it a quick test. Ha! Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Let's see if we get a disc on the screen. There we go. So we did a bit of testing. The computer boots up. Most things seem to be working except for the sound. I do not have any sound output. So we're going to have to keep digging a little bit. And that is a very common issue with the leaky caps because all the sound chips, these two here, are right next to all those leaky caps. So that's where we can start digging in and testing to see what's going on. So wouldn't you know it, UE7 is to do with video. So that would explain why we had those video issues before. The one that wasn't working was this new bus connection here. But it seems to be working now. So we're going to focus our efforts onto these two Sony sound chips here and kind of figure out if any of these connections are broken to UE10, which seems that's where most of it's going. We'll see if it has its reset and whatever else here. We'll basically work our way around. I did not check to see if the phono jack was working or not, because that is kind of separate, so maybe I'll just quickly boot it up and check that. Well, it turns out I am getting audio out of the phono jack. So we know we're getting our audio. It's supposed to be left channel, right channel. It's not going here, so we'll check this resistor. I'll check basically everything from the speaker jack over to Q2, Q1, and UA9, and we'll make sure we're getting a connection to those areas. One should just be ground. Is that one? And this one should go through R10. Where's R10? Probably on the back. There it is. So that was ground. This one should go to R10. What do we have out of R10? We have 27 ohms. And that is 27 ohms indeed. Notice how it's, oh yeah, that's right by the solder joint of this big axial cap here. So what happened there? That is making it through though. R10 goes to that point. In the middle of those three, which is right in front of one of those Qs. We've got 27 ohms, which is going into and Q1 and Q2, pin 2. No problem. Now between here and pin 1, I should get 150 ohms. 150 ohms, which I am. And that should go to pin 6 of this, which it does. This is UA9, which is, looks like a little amplifier. So line in, that's our amp. So pin 2, oh sorry, pin 7 should be connected to 12 volts, which is also on 12 volts on these. Oh no, and then pin 4 goes to that one. Yeah. Pin 2. So I've actually got this lovely little diagram here to go with, and we'll double check all these connections, and then we can root out if it's a bad chip or not. All right, and using that diagram, we realize that we don't have pin 4 on here. It does not go to this pin here. It did for a second, and then it went away. And we'll do another bodge. Okay, so the other bodge we've made now is from pin 7 on our main power connector over to C84 here, which provides negative 12 volts to the one sound chip. The negative, yeah, is for the amplifier. So that wasn't going through. So we've done that bodge now, and that's all working. So let's connect this all back together and see if we have sound. Okay, here we go. There you have it. Sound. Alright, well, I've run a number of tests on here already, and the repairs seem to be working. This one we've just got the 8 megs of RAM in. I installed System 753 on a blue SCSI, and yeah, everything seems to be working good so far. I've been able to connect Wi-Fi and get it on the internet. Got this cool DOS screensaver going on with the After Dark, which is neat to see on a Macintosh. So every 5 seconds it'll run some kind of command in here just for fun. I did not put a battery in the unit yet, but I do have some CR2032 replacements, which I'll end up putting in there, and a couple other machines. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll catch you on the next one.